The Make IK Chain tool here simplifies the process of setting up IK chains of all different types. The most important thing to know about it is that whilst it automates the setup process of an IK chain, what it does not do is automatically know how to create the IK or the kind of IK system that you are attempting to create. As such, you still need to know how to put together a given type of IK chain and how the one that you're trying to build needs to function. The tool simply saves you from the tedium of having to go making the certain bones or nulls and control motion options. To illustrate all of this, let's see a few examples. Whilst for this video I'll be using bones simply because they provide a better visual illustration of what's going on with the tool, do also bear in mind that the Make IK Chain tool can work on any kind of hierarchy, be it composed of nulls or bones or, as we see here, lights. You can still produce fully functioning IK setups with the tool, irrespective of what the hierarchy is composed of. So what we'll start out with here is your basic two-piece IK chain as you might use for a regular arm or leg or what have you. Of course, when setting up IK in Lightwave, you need to have some sort of pre-bend, so there's our sort of pre-bend at the elbow, if you will. Also, of course, remember that IK of this type generally needs to be kept planar, where of course you set up a target bone at the top of the chain, which points to the goal and so on, whilst the IK bones simply operate in a 2D planar method within that space. It's those sort of setups that the IK chain tool will do for you. So here's how to set that up. You grab the two bones that of course would be your IK action bones and the tip bone that of course needs to reach for the goal item. You then, from the channel selection options, choose the axis on which the IK is going to operate. In this case, that's going to be heading. Our system is going to be working this way. And you set off the various options that you need here. So we do want planar IK. Let's not worry about the pole option for now. And let's turn MGO off as well. Give the chain a name. In this case, I'm going to call it Arm1 and click Make IK Chain. So we see our bits created. We have a goal item here that allows us to position the IK around. And we have here the IK plane created, which allows us to set the twist of the IK chain like this by turning its bank. Nice and simple and straightforward. So let's see another version of this, basically the same thing again. I've got my two bones here, which I put some pre-bend on. I select all three there. I have to give this an individual name, so I'll just call that Arm2. And in this case, I'm going to turn on the pole option. The pole option, when selected, will give us a pole item to handle the twist of the IK rather than having to rely on the top bone itself here. We also see that for the pole there are these options, X, Y, Neg-X and Neg-Y. This determines where the pole's base position will be relative to the arm, or to the IK chain rather. Here's how we spot it. If you go to the Translate tool for the top bone and make sure that you're looking at the local axes here, it is then this choice that refers to one of the local axes. For instance, the default Y here, or positive Y, would place the pole item straight up here along the line of the local positive Y. If it were negative Y, then the pole would appear down here, and the same for the X. Since we're doing this similar in the style of an arm, then it's customary to have the pole off the back side of the arm like this, so we can see that that is the negative X for the local axis. So we'll select there negative X, and this time let's set the MGO or match goal orientation method to fix. Once again, select all three bones here. We are once again running on the heading, and let's click Make IK Chain. We can see that this time the plane bone has been automatically hidden because it's no longer needed, at least not needed to be seen, since we're operating the twist off the created pole item there. We have of course the goal item, and you can see that this end bone, this hand as it were, is fixed to the orientation of the goal item there. As you change the orientation of the goal, then the hand is fixed with it. And you can notice of course that when the goal goes out of bounds or beyond the length of the IK chain, then the hand item is still orienting along with the orientation of that item. The other option then would be to use the MGO in drag mode. So let's select those 3 bones there of this new arm. We'll call that arm 3. I'm going to set the MGO to drag, and this time I'm going to use the joints for the items. You'll notice that previously we've used nulls and the pole and goal were created as nulls. I'm still using a planar chain with a pole still on the negative X there, and so we click Make IK Chain. You can see what we have this time is our goal item is a joint, not a null like this, and of course you can see that when we go out of bounds the hand drags to try and point within its goal space. This is more easily seen from the top view there. Obviously the hand is ordinarily bound to the rotation of that, but when that goes beyond the reach, the hand will drag to try and reach towards it like that. This can give you a natural behaviour in IK chains for hands or feet, so as they naturally peel off surfaces that the IK is reaching to. And you can also notice that our pole item here has been created as a joint item. So that's all pretty straightforward and simple for those standard sorts of IK chains. What about in the case where we have something different, say something like this chain here, which is composed of 4 bones? One of the ways that you can do a chain like this is to have a sort of 2-bone IK solution, the final bone reaching for the goal, but this 3rd bone here operating on FK. The Make IK Chain tool will ignore anything that's not selected. So if we select this bone, and the last one here, again, let's make sure we only have the heading selected there because we're going to be operating the heading here. Let's just give this some name. We'll go with the planar, pole, negative X position pole, nulls and drag mode for the MGO, and we'll click Make IK Chain. You can see that what we have is, again, this chain is functioning nice and normally, but this bone here has been left alone, leaving us with the FK rotation on it, which allows us to push our IK solution one way or the other, whilst of course maintaining the pole twist available here via the pole item. When you're making chains like this that have multiple items, you can have 3 bones or more, in fact, of course, operating on IK, but whilst using a press bone, an auxiliary extra bone that helps you to create a certain amount of press in the chain. So we can select all 4 bones here. Let's call this chain 2 and Make IK Chain. You can then see what we have here, which is a 3-bone IK solution that works like this, as you might have in a quadruped leg or similar, but you have this press bone created as well, rotating which allows you to control the overall swing positioning of the chain. The Make IK Chain will of course do this automatically any time that you're using more than a 2-bone IK setup. It will also handle chain IK, long chain IK. So here we have a run of 10 bones. Commonly, when doing stuff like this, you will do them on both heading and pitch. You would not use the planar method, and you can, but wouldn't always use a pole. In this case, let's have one, shall we? So we'll call that chain 3, and once again, Make IK Chain. You can see that there we have our bendy flexy IK chain set up like this. Once again, we have this press item that lets us roll the chain around from its base, thusly, and there is the pole that lets us turn the chain around itself. You can see that more readily here, where the first bone is altering its twist orientation, whilst the press actually lets us raise and lower the chain like this. Of course, the tool can also handle other kinds of setup that we might find ourselves wanting to do with IK. For instance, stretchy bones. Here I'm just going to have a single bone, and of course the obligatory goal tip reach bone here. I'll select both of these. I'm going to choose heading and pitch for the rotation, and Z scale as well to make it stretchy on Z. I'll call this stretch. It does not need to be planar, does not need a pole item, does not need MGO, so we can turn those options off. Hit Make IK Chain, we see we get just a single goal item there, and of course the bone is now a stretchy bone that pulls toward the goal just like this, whilst of course rotating to point at the goal. So there it is, the Make IK Chain tool, which allows you to quickly and simply build all of the common IK type setups that you might require in Lightwave, using the most common options that you might want for any particular type of chain, and saving you from the work of having to add all the items manually and set all of their motion options.